Hello from Sydney. Where am I talking to you from?
Orlando, Florida.
Oh, wow. How's it going over there at the moment? Everything cool?
Yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's good. I love living over here. I'm having a lot of fun.
But not far away, you'll be heading back down under for a very special tournament.
Yes, yeah. Next week, I
Yeah.
fly out in a few days. Actually, yeah. GCW versus Renegades of Wrestling.
Yeah. So is this like like a roadshow of wrestling in Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane that fans can look forward to?
Yeah, it's a tour in the three cities, and it's going to be really unique because it's the first time that GCW, which is the biggest independent company in America, is coming to Australia.
Sure.
Um, so it's pretty groundbreaking. Yeah.
Are there any people part of the tour that maybe haven't been to Australia before that you can give them some tips on what to do and what not to do?
Yeah, I would say probably all of them I don't think have been to Australia, maybe once. So
Right.
yeah, they are definitely in for a treat. I've had a lot of people asking me if the spiders are as bad as they look, and I say yes, they are.
Yeah, so you'll have to remind them, don't leave their shoes outside.
Yeah, yeah, no shoes outside.
Check the toilet and the shower before they step in, all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, crazy. That's something I don't miss.
Uh, did you pitch the idea for this to come down under, or was it something that was a mutual agreement by management or something?
Yeah, no, I actually didn't have anything really to do with like the decision making.
Right,
Yeah, this is more of on the management side of things, but yeah, I think it's Australia has a huge wrestling scene, and as I said, GCW is the biggest company in America,
right.
and themselves they are expanding so much, going to Mexico, to Germany, to Japan, and now to Australia feels like the next progression. So yeah, everyone's kind of blowing up, which is awesome.
Is it the next progression for you, to keep traveling the world and be part of this, or are you always looking for something else or something different as well?
This is definitely the next progression for me. I mean,
Yep.
it is cool because I'm coming back home, but at a different level. I feel like every time I come back to Australia and wrestle, I've leveled up, I've improved, I've become better, I've become more popular. Like every time I come back, it's like a better version of myself.
Yeah.
So it's cool to be able to improve in America and build myself, but then to be able to come back to Australia and kind of show the fans that have been there since day one what I've been doing and what I've been learning and how I'm progressing. So that's cool on a personal note too.
So it won't be just friends and family. You'll have your core fan base that have been there since the beginning.
Yeah, I'll have fans that have been there since literally since the first match I had. So it's always a cool feeling being able to see those people and being in Australia, and we would have the same fans come to every show. So I recognize these people, I know them by name, and
Yeah.
yeah, for them to see where I am now is really cool, and for me to be able to come back and hang out with them, chat with them at the merch table, catch up, like that's cool as well for me.
What's your background? Were you born? Where you? What? Actually, I don't even know what state you are from. Did you grow up here, or did you go over to the US early and pursue your dreams?
So I was born in Melbourne and I lived
Yeah.
in Melbourne until I was 5, and then I moved to Sydney. And then up until 2 years ago, I was living in Sydney, and then that's when I moved to America in 2021.
Big step.
Huge step. But since the day I had started wrestling, I had decided that I was going to be moving to America eventually for wrestling, anyways, no matter what way it was going to be. So I had years to mentally accept that and prepare for that and prepare my family and stuff. So it definitely wasn't a surprise by any means. This was part of the plan all along.
I mean, without being too materialistic, you're gorgeous. But were you always the tough girl? Were you always destined to do something like this?
Um, I was always kind of aggressive and tough and like had a bad attitude and I didn't want to listen to anyone at school. I didn't want to be told what to do. I didn't like the structure of studying and work and assignments. I just didn't like it. I loved being hands-on. I loved working. Like I had jobs all the time. I loved working. I loved earning my own money. I was very hands-on.
Yeah.
And I always loved wrestling, like as a fan when I was a kid. So it wasn't out of nowhere. Like when I told my parents I wanted to wrestle, they were like, yeah, you've been telling us that since you were 10 years old. So yeah, I kind of feel like I was always meant to do this.
I'm glad to hear that you weren't a mean girl. You were just a tough girl.
Yeah, no, I wasn't mean at all. If anything, I got bullied. So I just had to kind of put all my walls up and
Sure.
look after myself. So yeah, I definitely have a tough exterior, but I'm a softie on the inside.
Yeah, oh, same here. I'm a romantic at heart. I'm sure you are too.
Yes.
I'm not sure if this is correct, but are you an Aquarius, born on January 21st?
Yes, I am an Aquarius.
We have the same birthday. I'm also January 21st.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I'm January 21st. So happy birthday.
Wow. Happy birthday to us in January. That's crazy.
So we share a birthday with Gina Davis, very
Okay.
famous Oscar-winning actor, and someone else who I love from the movie Coyote Ugly, Isabel Miko. Yeah, so there you go. But yeah, when I saw that, I thought, oh, great, I'm going to have to mention we have the same birthday. How cool is that, Steph?
That's very cool. And you know what? Like, as I get older, when I really connect with people, I ask them what month they were born, and a lot of it is Aquarius. I'm like, maybe there is something to all the horoscopes and all of that.
Well, I'm glad this interview is going well so far then. It's just bumped me.
Good.
What are the best and maybe worst things when it comes to wrestling? They can't all be good. Is there any bad things opposed to good things?
Yeah, definitely. We'll start with the bad stuff first. I mean, there's a lot of different things, but I've got to say first, like the toll that it takes on your body is
Injuries.
pretty crazy. Yeah, injuries. It's definitely not for the faint-hearted. And you go into any locker room, almost everyone is going to be nursing some sort of injury. So that is difficult. And also, I would say like the schedule can get pretty rough, like being away from friends and family, and especially for me, like I literally live on the other side of the world, so I'm missing a lot of stuff. But even for people that live in the same country as their family, like our shows are Friday, Saturday, Sunday, so you've got to make peace with the fact that you're missing birthdays, you're missing weddings, you're missing funerals,
weekends.
You're in a relationship, you're never around on the weekend, like all of that kind of stuff that people don't really think about. So it's kind of like a traveling life of like, a rock star or a musician or something like that. Like the schedule is very inconsistent. So that can make real life stuff difficult.
Yeah. And the good things is just the satisfaction and I guess you get so inspired as well doing what you do because you've always wanted to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I would say the best thing is being able to sit here and go, if I could choose to do anything in the world, I wouldn't change a thing. And I think that's very, very rare for most people. When you ask them that question, they go, oh, I would love to be an actress. I want to be a movie star. I'd be a fireman. I'd be this. I'd be that. Everyone has a kind of job that they wish they did or they wish they could do.
Sure, yeah.
But it's really cool that it's like, oh, shit, I'm actually doing the one that, I would say. So that is awesome. And then, yeah, just like the adrenaline rush is definitely addicting, like it's the jitters and the nerves and how, that nervous energy before you perform.
Yeah.
And being out there in front of a crowd and they're reacting, whether they're cheering or whether they're booing, like feeling a room of people and being able to get them to respond to you and control their emotions, all of that kind of stuff, that is such a high.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people that are wrestlers or performers or, in any way, I think that's constantly what we're chasing is like that feeling of performing. So yeah, that's the best part for me.
Yeah. I mean, I'm no athlete, but I surf and I know what it's like. I've surfed for a lot of years, but it's just when you get out there and start doing it, you have that inspiration and that feeling doesn't go away. It's awesome.
Yeah, anything like that you love and that is physical, I think, especially with surfing, like that's such a natural thing when it's just like you and the ocean. Like I don't surf, but my whole family does. And I can see why people love it. Like it, it looks, even just being in the ocean for me is amazing. So I
Yeah.
totally see how you get the same feeling from surfing.
Well, you've just ruined one of my questions, but I was going to ask you, can you surf? Obviously,
I
no.
can't I can't surf. I wish I could, and I know I would be good at it,
Yeah,
but I just I've wanted to, but I haven't had time. Like I live an hour away from the beach here, and
yeah.
the surfing is not very good around here. But no, I never learnt in Australia, and I wish I did, but I think I will at some point.
Did you create your own style, like with your hair, your look, your costumes, or did you get advice by anyone, or was it all yours?
It was all mine. I've
Nice.
always, since I was a teenager, kind of gone against the grain and stood out from the pack. I think part of that was just because physically I've always been a lot bigger than most other girls. So like
Right.
I was always the tallest in my year at high school, and I was the same size as the guys really.
Yeah.
Had unique interests like wrestling. Not many people in Australia are into that, so I was always kind of alternate in that way. And then I started getting a bunch of piercings when I was in high school because
Sure.
I just kind of started to leaning into being that way. And 10 years later, I still love it. Looking alternate and looking different and standing out. So gradually, I've just added a few more things, and I cut my hair and slit my eyebrows and just keep adding random stuff. But in wrestling, the best thing you can do is stand out.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I've tried to create is I look at, okay, what is everyone else doing? What do most people look like? What's trending right now? And then I do the opposite of what's trending because I know most people are going to go that way.
Yeah, I totally hear what you're saying there. Um, you might be able to have a side hustle. AFL and rugby league female teams now are very popular, and they have like wrestling coaches to help tackle. So it could be a side
Isn't it
hustle.
crazy? Like it's honestly, if I wasn't wrestling, I would love to play footy or something like that. Like
I
I
think you'd
think
be good.
yeah, I think I would love it as well. So yeah, I think what they're doing, I mean, with the Matildas right now, like
Oh
women in
yeah.
sport are absolutely killing it. So it's awesome to see. It really is.
Speaking of side hustles, during the COVID period, what did you do? What did you do to survive?
I was still living in Australia at that point.
Yeah.
So I worked at a pet store at the time. And we were an essential business because it was a pet supermarket, basically. That's what they
Yeah.
classed it.
Yeah.
So I got to go to work every day. So that was actually kind of awesome because I wasn't stuck inside all day every day. I just got to go and hang out with dogs. So it was a pretty good setup.
Be like me, I just kept working from home. It was I could still be a journalist and work from home. It was good.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
Do Australian audiences, when you're wrestling, react differently to when you've been wrestling overseas, or are they much the same every country you go to?
Um, I wouldn't say there's a huge difference as far as the way that they react, like Australia versus America.
Yeah.
It's more so of where you are. Like if you're if you're at a show in the middle of Sydney City or the middle of Melbourne,
Yeah.
that's when you get, you know, people in their early 20s or late 20s, 30s, whatever, wanting to go out for a night on the town on the weekend and have a few beers with their mates and watch some wrestling and get rowdy and yell and all that kind of stuff. Whereas if you go, and it's the same in America, if you're at a show in the middle of New York City or LA on a Saturday night, you're going to have like a rowdy crowd of like
Sure.
adults. But if we're at a rural town in Western Sydney or a rural town in Texas on a Sunday afternoon, that's where you're going to get more of a family crowd. So that's where you have to kind of tailor, like if it's going to be an 18 plus crowd, then we can swear and we can be a bit more edgy and all of
Mm,
that kind of bit more violence. Whereas if we know it's going to be full of kids,
mm.
we're not going to swear. We're not going to do rude fingers. We're going to keep it really simple and make whatever story we're trying to tell easy for a 5-year-old to understand. So you
Good to
work
hear.
depending where you are. Yeah.
And I hate asking this, but are there scripts that you go off like completely, or is it just like a set thing, a guideline, and then you do what you want to do? Or, how
Yeah.
does it work for you?
So it depends on where you are. Like
Mm,
some places are a bit more micromanaged than others, but
got
for
it.
the most part, there's no scripts or anything like that. It's just an outline of, okay, it's you versus you. I want it to go for 10 minutes. I
Okay.
want you to win and you guys figure it out. And then it's up to you and your opponent to get together, plan what you want to do. I would say probably 70% of it is planned and structured beforehand,
Mm,
but it's not like dancing where you'll spend weeks, rehearsing this
choreograph.
one performance. Yeah, you'll plan it maybe an hour or two before you do it.
Yeah.
So you kind of plan most of it. There still is room for ad-libbing and adjusting if you need to, or improvising stuff. So not everything's 100% set in stone.
Yeah.
So I'd say about 70% is, pre-planned, and 30% is ad-lib.
Well, that's good to hear. You can still ad lib and just create your own event basically, and something different each time.
Yes, definitely. Yeah, wrestling is great because there is so much freedom that you have.
Right.
That, like if you're in a real sport, right? If you're a basketball player and you've twisted your ankle, you can't play. But if
Mm,
you're a wrestler and you have a sprained ankle, you can tape it up and you can plan your match that you don't have to move. You know what
true.
I mean? Or you can be really like, you can be really smart about what you do. If you've got a bad back that week, you can
Yeah.
plan it so you don't have to take many bumps. Like because we're in the driver's seat and because it is choreographed,
Mm.
it's good in that way because you can take out a lot of elements of stuff that you don't want to do or you can't do, and you can focus on, the strengths that you have at that time.
Not like footy where they'll just tackle you and bash you no matter what.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's still brutal by all
Mm.
means, but you
Cool.
can
Cool. Yeah.
choose to not do certain things if you don't want to or you can't.
I'm conscious of time, so it's got a couple more questions. Do female wrestlers get paid? Is it equal pay to the male wrestlers, or does it depend on shows? Because as you mentioned, the Matildas, they don't get paid the same as the Socceroos, but they provide the same entertainment. So, what's it like in
Yeah.
female wrestling? Is there equality?
No, the women still don't get paid the same. Some
Right.
do, like, but there are, for the most part, there's still definitely a pay gap. There's still a lot of shows where there's 8 men's matches and 1 women's match, and it goes for 4 minutes, and
Right.
they don't get paid very much. But on the flip side too, there is also a lot more male wrestlers than female. So
Of course.
sometimes it's like, well, there's only that many girls in the area, but for the most part, I would say still is a lot of work to be done. And I get looked after pretty well, but I have to be the difficult one and the bitch and all of this to
Right. Yeah.
get that respect,
Yeah.
and that's something that's actually been really cool for me now, being at the point where I'm at now in America. I can wrestle on these shows, and if there are girls on the show that have been on the show for 6 months, if there are issues going on, they don't feel like they can stand up because they really need this opportunity and they really need the promoters to be happy with them and they need the exposure and XYZ. I'm at
Yeah.
a point now where I don't really need one place. Like if someone doesn't want me back, I don't care. I can wrestle somewhere else easily.
Okay.
So that means that I can stand up a bit more and I can go, hey, you need to pay that girl more, or you need to make sure she has a ride back to the airport, or you shouldn't have 4 people staying in one hotel room. Like those are things that happen really regularly. Most people can't stand up and say that, but
Mhm.
I've kind of decided that, like, if I do want to see the change, especially with, like, guys, sorry guys, fight your own battles. I'm here for the girls. With the girls, I will happily kind of fall on that sword sometimes.
That's
And
great.
yeah.
And what about Spilled Paint? There's a series coming out. It's not been released yet. Is it some like a start of an acting, career for you on the side, maybe?
Yeah, so that's coming out on Tubi, hopefully in December. Tubi's like a streaming service
Yeah.
here.
Can you tell me a
Hopefully.
little bit about your character and your co-stars?
So it was pretty cool because this was my first ever acting role. First ever. Haven't done, like, obviously wrestling is very similar, but like I haven't even done a day of acting class. So like this really, really fell into my lap and I had the most fun ever. I did not expect to love it as much as I did. Um, but my character is very similar to who I am as a person and who
Okay.
I am as a wrestler, which is really cool. Like I got there and like just before we started, they were like, "Hey, do you mind if we put a temporary tattoo on your face and give you gold teeth?" And I was like, "I already have jewels in my teeth and I want a face tattoo, so bring it on." I was like, "Do it." So yeah, I was like this cool badass like bodyguard, super strong, super dominant, intimidating. I was like, "Oh, this role was made for me." So it was very fun.
That sounds cool. Well, when it's released later in the year, maybe we'll get to talk again and I can focus on the show itself. We can have another conversation.
Yeah, definitely. That sounds great.
But to finish up, what can fans fully expect? I know you touched on it at the beginning of our interview, but what can fans fully expect from this challenge that is going to Melbourne, Sydney, and Brisbane?
Um, it's a taste of the best of the American wrestling scene versus the best of the Australian scene.
Yep.
There's a lot of first time matchups. There's a lot of people that have never interacted at all in the ring before. There's a lot of different personalities. So that's what I'm excited to see. And I think that's what the fans will enjoy the most is there's so many different characters and seeing them interact will be really interesting.
Oh, that'll be great because, they'll be not in their comfort zone.
Yeah, exactly. There's a lot of moving parts, there's a lot of different elements, and I think it's going to make for a really exciting tour.
And finally, what do you do on the side when you're not wrestling or being an athlete? Do you go to the movies? Do you read? What do you do?
I hang out with my cats. I've got two cats and I love them. So I hang out with my cats. I also I do CrossFit training, so I love going to the gym and doing
Got it.
CrossFit.
Yeah.
And then I went to the beach this week, which was awesome. I haven't got to the beach anywhere near enough this year because I've been so busy. But yeah, when I have the time, I love going to the beach. That's definitely the Australian in me. But right now my schedule is so busy. It's just like work, sleep, eat, repeat, just like go, go, go.
Well, have a safe trip back down under when you come home. I look forward to hopefully getting to meet you in person. If not, we'll have another conversation down the track. And congratulations on an Aussie doing good, not just in the
Thank you.
US, but all around the world, obviously.
Thank you so much. It was great to meet you.
Yeah, pleasure to meet you too, Steph. Thank you so much for your time. And happy
Oh,
birthday on the 21st, right?
happy birthday on the 21st. Thank you.